Come to Angela Rayner, who's Deputy Leader. Deputy Leader Angela.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And many people in the chamber today, Mr Speaker, will think the Battle of Britain is today. But actually, we marked the 80th anniversary of those veterans yesterday. And I want to put on record our thanks to all those who fought for our country in the past. Mr Speaker, I want to start by reading the Prime Minister a message that I've received from a man called Keir. Keir wasn't able to go to work today and his children couldn't go to school because his family had to wait for their coronavirus test results despite the Prime Minister's promise of results within 24 hours. Yeah. Keir was able to do the right thing and self-isolate and work from home. But other people aren't in this position, Mr Speaker. Many of them are the very people who are getting us through this crisis, like the care workers that I used to work alongside before I was elected to this House. The Prime Minister once earned £2,300 an hour. So can the Prime Minister tell us what is the average hourly rate of a care worker in this country?
Well, Mr Speaker, I congratulate the the honourable lady on her elevation, and just to say that she speaks of the constituent Keir, and I can tell her allegedly, apparently, Mr Speaker, he has had a negative test. I don't know quite why he is not here, but 89% of those who have tests get them within in-person tests, get them the next day. And we are working very fast to turn around all the test requests that we get. And I think most people looking at the record of this country in delivering tests across the nation will see that it actually compares extremely well with any other European country. We've conducted more tests than any other European country, and that is why we are able to deliver tests, as I say, and deliver results in 80% of the cases where we know the contacts. And she says that she asks about care homes, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell the House today we are launching the Winter Care Home Action Plan, and we will do everything. She's right to raise the issue of care homes. We are concerned about infection rates in care homes, but we will do everything we can to ensure that care homes and their workers are protected. And on her final point, Mr. Speaker, I am proud that it is this government that has instituted the national living wage to ensure that every worker in this country, including care home workers, is paid substantially more thanks to the care and the work of the people of this country.
It's finished. Okay. The whole country, Mr. Speaker, would have seen that the Prime Minister doesn't know how much a care worker earns, because that was my question. The shameful fact is that the average wage in social care is barely more than £8 an hour, and half of our social care workers earn less than the real living wage. Yeah, exactly. On his first day in office, the Prime Minister said, "We will fix the crisis in social care once and for all with a clear plan that we have prepared." Yet still, there's no sign of the plan. And the additional funding to prevent infection is going to run out, Mr. Speaker, at the end of this month. So, will the Prime Minister commit today to give our social care sector the funding that it needs now to get through this looming winter crisis?
Mr. Speaker, she's asking an important point, and we are concerned about the rates of infection in care homes. Clearly, they've come down massively since we instituted the £600 million care home action plan. Tomorrow, we will be announcing a further, as I say, a winter care home action plan, and it won't surprise her to know that we want to see a toughening up of the rules governing the movement of workers from one care home to another. We want to make sure that we protect care homes from further infections, and that is the right thing to do. And I pay tribute to all the care home workers in this country for what they've done to help us bring down the disease. And we will make sure, Mr. Speaker, and as we have done over the last few months, that they get the PPE that they need, that they get the guidance that they need, and they get the cash that they need. And that's what this government is committed to doing.
Angela Rayner.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I do welcome the Prime Minister's comments, but I must say to the Prime Minister, get some skates on it. Those care workers are still not getting the PPE they need. They're still not getting the testing they need. So I urge the Prime Minister to get on top of this problem now, before the winter crisis hits. The Prime Minister has put his faith in Operation Moonshot, but meanwhile, on planet Earth, there was no NHS tests available for several high-infection areas, including Tameside and Oldham, in my own constituencies. In July, the government promised that there would be weekly tests in care homes, and they promised this for September. So can the Prime Minister confirm, yes or no, do all care homes in this country have weekly tests?
Well, Mr. Speaker, yes, to the best of my knowledge, care homes in this country should get weekly tests for all staff members and tests every 28 days for those who are in the care homes, the residents in the care homes. And Mr. Speaker, of course, she's right to express the frustration of people across this country about the massive demand there is now for tests, and it has hugely increased. I think everybody can see just in the last few days a colossal spike in the number of people who want tests and who want to ascertain whether they've got coronavirus. And what we're trying to do now is meet that demand at record speed. And just in the last couple of weeks, we've increased the capacity of our testing systems by 10%. We've got 4 new labs that we are building in Newport, in Newcastle, in Charnwood, and in Brants Bridge. And we want to get up, just so she knows the scale of the ambition, we want to get up to 500,000 tests per day by the end of October. Now, as I say, that is a huge, huge number, and I really do pay tribute to all those who are delivering it. And I know that the opposition benches like to make these international comparisons. I would just repeat, Mr. Speaker, that we are testing more than any other European country.
Now,
well, Mr. Speaker, I heard what the Prime Minister had to say, but I have to say to him yesterday, the Chief Executive of Care England said, we were promised weekly testing for staff. That has not been delivered. Time and time again, he makes promises and then breaks those promises. In June, he told this House, I can undertake now to get all tests turned around in 24 hours by the end of June. They've had 6 months, Mr. Speaker, to get this right, and yet the Prime Minister still can't deliver on his promises. The Health Secretary said yesterday it would take weeks to sort the situation out. Well, Mr. Speaker, we don't have weeks, but the government's latest figures show that there were an average of 62,000 people tested per day, not 500,000. The Prime Minister has said that testing capacity is at 300,000, but the average is 62,000 a day. How does the Prime Minister explain this?
Mr. Speaker, we have delivered on, as I say, the most thoroughgoing testing regime anywhere in Europe, and we now have capacity. I think capacity has gone up from 200. The number of tests per day conducted, not capacity, has gone up from 210,000 last week to 240,000 this week. And just to repeat the statistics, we're now per 1,000 people, Mr. Speaker. This country is testing 2.54, Germany 1.88, Spain 1.91, and France 1.89. In other words, we are delivering exactly what we said we would do. What is happening, Mr. Speaker, is that the British people, quite understandably, are responding to that system with a huge surge in demand, and so it's very important that everybody follows the guidance about when they should be getting a test. The guidance sent out by Public Health England, which has been sent to schools, and from the NHS Test and Trace.
Angela Rayner.
Well, Mr. Speaker, once again, I see that the Prime Minister says it's somebody else's fault. It's the public that are using up the tests. These were the government's own figures and own targets, Mr. Speaker, that they failed on. And the next time a man with COVID symptoms drives from London to Durham, it'll probably be for the nearest COVID test. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to move on to another very serious issue. Alongside the tragic stories we've heard of relatives dying alone in care homes and people not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones, we've also heard from mothers who have had to give birth without the support of their partners or their family. The Health Secretary yesterday said that the new guidance had been issued, but even under that new guidance, many birth partners will not be allowed to join at that moment of until that moment of established labour, leaving women enduring difficult labours, or even worse, traumatic and devastating miscarriages, alone, without support. Will the Prime Minister agree to meet with me and my honourable friends and work with us to ensure that no woman is forced to give birth without the support that they need?
Well, Mr. Speaker, she's absolutely right to raise the issue that she does, and I know members across the House will share her feelings entirely. I totally agree that birth partners should be able to attend the birth. That's why we changed the guidance in the way that we did. But of course, I'm very happy to encourage cooperation between her and my right honourable friends in the Health Department to take the matter forward. But I perfectly understand the point that she makes, and she's entirely right.
Angela Ray.
I welcome the Prime Minister's comments, and I think that was a yes, Mr. Speaker, but I will follow it up, but thank you for those comments. Mr. Speaker, infections are rising. The testing system is collapsing. When you are the Prime Minister, you can't keep trying to blame other people for your own incompetence. We have the highest death toll in Europe, and we're on course for one of the worst recessions in the developed world. This winter, we are staring down the barrel of a second wave with no plan for the looming crisis. People can't say goodbye to their loved ones. Grandparents can't see their grandchildren, and frontline staff can't get the tests that they need. And what was the top priority for the COVID War Cabinet this weekend? Restoring grouse shooting. I suppose, Mr. Speaker, it's good news for people like the Prime Minister's friend who paid for a luxury Christmas getaway to a Caribbean island and funded his leadership campaign and just so happens to own 2 Grousemore estates. So, Prime Minister, is this really your top priority?
Mr. Speaker, while the Labour opposition has been consistently carping from the sidelines throughout this crisis and raising, frankly, I think issues that are tangential, if not scarce stories about what is going on, we are getting on with delivering for the British public. We're not only ramping up, massively ramping up, and Mr. Speaker, she hasn't contested any of my statistics today about the extent to which this country is now testing more than any other European country. She hasn't disputed the massive acceleration in our programme. We are getting on. I'll answer the substance of her question. Thank you very much. We're getting on with delivering on the priorities of the British people, getting us through this COVID crisis, delivering on making our country safer, by the way, bringing forward measures to stop the early release of dangerous sexual and violent offenders, which I hope that she will support, strengthening our union, Mr. Speaker, which in principle the front bench opposite should support, building more homes across this country, more affordable homes across this country, which she should support, in addition to recruiting more doctors, more nurses, and building more hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody is in any doubt that this government is facing some of the most difficult dilemmas that any modern government has had to face. But every day we are helping to solve them thanks to the massive common sense of the British people, who are getting on with delivering our programme, getting on with delivering our fight against coronavirus. And it's with the common sense, of the British people that we will succeed, build back better and stronger than ever before.